All right, today we're doing something, well, kind of ambitious. We're going to take a journey through thousands of years of Indian art and culture. From towering temples to the most intricate dances, it is an absolutely incredible story of diversity. So let's just jump right in. But here's the big question, right? Can you really capture millennia of art in just a few minutes? Look, it's a huge challenge, but we're going to give it a shot. We'll do it by focusing on the major turning points and the defining ideas that really tell this epic story. So, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the foundations, ancient architecture. Then we'll move into a period of incredible fusion of styles. After that, we'll explore the living rhythm of dance and music, see how colonial rule left its mark, and finally, wrap it all up with the living legacy of this heritage today. Okay, first up, we're going way back, looking at the very pillars of the civilization itself, the forms of ancient architecture that literally shaped the landscape of India. So, where do you even begin? Well, it really all starts with temple architecture, and you can primarily break it down into three core styles. Up in the north, you've got the Nagara style. Down in the south, it's the Dravida style. And then kind of in between, you find Vesara, which is this fascinating hybrid of the other two. And this is where you can really start to see the differences. Just look at the main tower, the superstructure. Nagara temples have this curving tower called a shikara, while Dravida temples have a more step, pyramid-shaped tower called a vimana. But you know, the gateway is a huge giveaway. In the south, you get these massive, incredibly ornate gateways called gopurams, which are often way taller than anything else in the complex. But here's one thing that they all share, the garbhagriha. The name literally means womb house, which is just a perfect description. It's the most sacred, innermost chamber right under the main tower, where the temple's main deity resides. It's the spiritual heart of the whole structure. Okay, let's jump forward a bit to the Mauryan Empire, because their contribution was just monumental. I mean, think about it. Giant pillars carved from a single block of sandstone, polished with this technique that gave it a mirror-like finish that honestly still baffles experts today. And of course, the great stupas, these huge dome-shaped structures built to protect sacred Buddhist relics. And this is the amazing part, where that ancient history feels so incredibly present. The four-lion capital, which sat on top of a Mauryan pillar at Sarnath, that piece of art from over 2,000 years ago, is the official national emblem of India today. That's a pretty powerful connection to the past. All right, that brings us to our second section. We're now entering a medieval period, and this is where worlds collide. A time of incredible fusion, where different cultures and ideas met and created something totally new and exciting. So what's happening here is this massive, fundamental shift in how buildings were even made. The traditional Indian style, known as trabeate, was all about pillars and beams, kind of like stacking blocks. But with new influences came the archwayed style, which was all about arches and domes. This completely changed the game, allowing for huge, open, vaulted spaces. And this fusion really hit its absolute peak with the Mughals. You can literally watch the evolution happen through the generations. It starts with Emperor Akbar, who loved red sandstone and was a master at blending styles. Then his son Jahangir starts shifting towards white marble, and it all culminates with his son Shah Jahan, whose reign is seen as the zenith. Just pure perfection and symmetry and the lavish use of white marble, which you can see, of course, in the Taj Mahal. And a huge part of what made Shah Jahan's era so stunning was this incredible technique, pietra dura. It's this painstaking process of inlaying tiny, perfectly cut semi-precious stones into marble to create these beautiful flowing designs. It's what gives the Taj Mahal that delicate, almost jewel box-like appearance. So we've talked about buildings and stone. Now for section 3. Let's move from static architecture to something that's alive. We're talking about the dynamic, breathing traditions of India's performing arts, the rhythm of the soul. So when we talk about classical dance, how many forms are we actually talking about? Well, the Sangeet Natak Academy, which is India's National Academy for the Performing Arts, officially recognizes 8 distinct styles, and each one has its own completely unique language, history, and feel. Let's just take a look at a couple of them to get a feel for the diversity. First up, Kathakali from Kerala. Honestly, to call it just a dance doesn't do it justice. It's a full-on dance drama. It's famous for this unbelievably elaborate makeup, which can take hours to put on, and these spectacular costumes that transform the performers into gods, demons, and heroes straight out of the epics.
And then you've got something like Odissi from Odisha. This form is known for its sheer grace and this beautiful, almost fluid quality. It's defined by the Tribangi pose, this signature three-bend posture of the body. It's so sculptural. It's like the carvings on the temple walls have literally stepped off the stone and started to dance.
Now, when it comes to classical music, things pretty much split into two main streams. In the north, there's Hindustani music. It was influenced by Persian and Islamic traditions, and it's all about improvisation and exploring the mood of a melodic framework called a raga. Down south, you have Carnatic music. This one remained largely indigenous, and it focuses much more on specific compositions called krittis. Okay, section 4. We've seen indigenous styles, we've seen fusion, and then comes the next big shift, the imperial imprint. The arrival of European powers, especially the British, left another dramatic and lasting mark on India's architecture.
And what's fascinating is that you can track their architectural journey in India. At first, they brought what they knew, building in the neoclassical style, with those grand Greek and Roman pillars. Then they shifted to a Gothic revival style, think pointed arches, soaring ceilings. But eventually, they started to create something completely new.
And that's where they landed on this totally unique style, Indo-Saracenic. I love this slide because it breaks it down so simply. It was an architectural statement. You take the bones of a European Gothic structure, you put a Mughal-style dome on top, and then you add these classic Hindu decorative elements, like canopies called chhatris. Landmarks like the Victoria Memorial in Kolkata are just perfect examples of this blend. And that leads us to our final and maybe most important section. The crucial point here is that this story isn't over. This isn't just about ancient history. We're talking about a living, breathing legacy that continues to this day. So how do you even measure a legacy like that? Well, for starters, just look at this number, 44. That's how many UNESCO World Heritage Sites are in India. It's a number that gives you a sense of the sheer scale and global importance of the cultural treasures we've been talking about. And that quote right there really sums it all up. These incredible places, whether it's ancient cave paintings or magnificent tombs, they aren't just relics collecting dust. They are vibrant, powerful testaments to a cultural tradition that has just kept flowing, without a break, for thousands and thousands of years. So after this whirlwind tour, it all comes down to a final thought, a question for you. We've seen temples and paintings, we've talked about music and dance. In all of this vast, incredible cultural heritage of India, which piece of it tells your story?